And we're back with another plugin versus hardware. Today I've got the Distressor by Empirical Labs, and it is said to be the Swiss Army knife of the compressor world. It's supposed to be able to sound like an 1176 as well as an LA2A, and it has a famous NUKE setting, so we're going to see what that is all about. I've got the Distressor plugin by Universal Audio. I'm not going to talk any more. We're going to dive into Pro Tools and we're going to see what they sound like and how the plugin compares to the hardware. The first files I'm going to run through the plugin and the hardware is going to be the mix I did for Alain for his track You&I. And we're going to see if I could have done anything better if I would have run it through the actual Distressor. Let's start with drums. I'm going to play it, and as always I'm going to dial in the hardware first, and then I'm going to copy over those settings, make sure they're gain staged the same, and then we are going to A/B between the plugin and the hardware. Okay, so I'm able to get a bit more punch out of the kit with this setting. Let's get these settings dialed into the plugin. So we've got an attack of 7, we've got a release of 2, the ratio is 4:1, we've got the detector circuit linked, and there is no distressor type enabled. The distressor types are types of saturation in the unit, so you've got Distressor 2 and Distressor 3. Distressor 2 is supposed to sound like a tube. Distressor 3 is supposed to sound more like a tape saturation. Okay, so I'm going to set the input and the output the same as I've got it on the plugin. And then first I'm going to see if I need to adjust the headroom slider over here to get the same amount of gain reduction and output level as I've got on the hardware unit. Okay, so switching between those two settings on the headroom slider doesn't give me the same amount of gain reduction, so I'm going to need to dial in the input differently for now. That is about the same. Let's see what the output is doing. Okay, so now their gain reduction is as matched as possible, and they are peaking at the same dBFS value in the input of Pro Tools. So we can start the A/B comparison and see what the differences are. Okay, so there are differences, but I'm still not sure which one I like better actually. The hardware seems to have a bit more weight to it and is a bit more low-end focused. The plugin is a bit more punchy, higher up in the low end, starting low mids. So actually for its punch, I kinda like the plugin for this. And it might even win this round. I'm really curious what you think, so please let me know down in the comments which one you like better on this drum and bass group. Alright, let's do an entire mix. The last hook of the track Moet, Hebben from Linde, Schöne. I'm really curious if I can make it even better by using the Distressor. Okay, so it is clearly pumping. I would never use these settings on the actual master, but I was thinking it might be easier to listen for the same pumping compression than it would be to have the really light compression on there, because this is already going through, I think, an SSL compressor and some sort of master chain, except for my standard clip and my limiter, because it is the print track, so this is the track that went to the mastering engineer. Let's A/B compare the plugin versus hardware. Okay, so I think they are actually pretty close for a plugin versus hardware comparison. The hardware deals with transients a little bit better. They stay a bit punchier. The groove comes out a bit more. That is what we're used to from plugin versus hardware on compressors. The SSL had the same. I think the tube tag felt the same to me. So it is no surprise that the Distressor feels like that as well. But is the hardware actually worth the extra money, extra effort, extra converters? Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. But I have to say it does win this round. Okay, the last audio file we are going to do is one I'm really excited about. It is a drum loop. And not just any drum loop. It is a drum loop from the Drums That Knock X-Pack from my guy Decap. Thanks for letting me use this on these comparisons. They are amazing to use. These are already really processed, and I'm just here to see if we can take it up a notch. Okay, I like that setting. Let's dial that into the plugin. A ratio of 6:1. Distortion type 2, and then we are going to dial in an attack at 8 and release at 2. It was, yes, that is correct. Let's compare. Okay, again, pretty close. I can hear a bit of a difference in how it deals with the transient on the plugin, because on the hardware it feels like it has more room to punch through, and on the plugin it feels like it's hitting a roof somewhere. I don't know if I've got a better explanation for that. It kind of feels like it's hitting some sort of a soft clipper even in the plugin. I'm pretty sure there's not a soft clipper in there, and maybe that is just hardware being hardware, because a hardware piece doesn't have that hard zero line at the top at 0 dB FS. Another thing that I'm hearing is that there is still a bit of harshness in a drum loop, and the hardware deals with that magically. That kind of disappears in there, and in the plugin it is still there. So that is another thing that hardware just does really nicely. Let's, as a cherry on the cake, nuke it. Because we've all been waiting for the nuke setting. We are going to nuke it. Let's arm the nuke. Keep it on distortion 2. I am going to listen to the hardware. I'm going to dial in some nukings, and then we are going to see how the plugin handles that. Let's see if we can get all of the LEDs to light up. So we're going for 26 plus dB of gain reduction. Let's go. Okay, that is a completely different drum loop. I would never use this, but just for fun, let's see how the plugin would deal with a setting like this. Okay, so there is something happening in that plugin. There is some kind of low end, low mid bump that keeps the kick punchy, and I kind of like that. It is really clamping down on it though. So there is some kind of distortion difference in there. Again, it is just adding sort of a crunchiness to that kick where the hardware keeps it still the same kick without that crunchiness that I'm hearing. The hardware seems to be a little bit tighter, especially the kick is a little bit tighter, and on the plugin the kick becomes a bit longer and muddier and slower almost. But it is not as big a difference as I would have expected. So actually, the plugin, great job UAD. That concludes this video. I know there is many more options to the Distressor that I still have not checked. We haven't checked the opto setting, we haven't checked British mode, we haven't really properly dug into the Distressor modes. There is much more to the Distressor than I could have shown you in this video, but I'll leave that for a next video. Maybe there is another Distressor plugin out there that you want me to try against the hardware, and then we can do all the other settings. I hope you like this video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know in the comments which hardware piece you would like me to try against which plugin, and I'll see if I can get my hands on those and try them out. That's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Later.